Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. Jim and Paul will be today's presenters and will discuss the topic of extending Azure DevOps and JIRA into an adaptive portfolio management solution. This webinar is a new addition to our series of Agile webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again, and I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thank you, Robert, and welcome everybody. We're excited to give you this topic here today. This is probably one of the prevalent things that we're doing for clients today in this area of adaptive portfolio management, and doing so by bringing in a multitude of tools. And today we're focusing on Azure DevOps and JIRA use cases. What's driving the need for this topic is, what's driving most change within organizations today is transformation, and specifically digital transformation, and how that world is moving so quickly and forcing us to adapt to changes more quickly than we ever have before. Organizations that, have adapted and going from more brick and mortar to more digital types of customer experiences and reaching their customers and monetizing their businesses via digital options is getting large over time. No industry is really impervious to this. You see some examples up here, but it impacts all parts of the organization. The executives who have to strategize these things and how to go to market, how to bring new products to market, and how to reach and monetize the customers in different ways. That requires more software development and more technology, and the PMOs have more technology-driven projects within their portfolios. And then the services organizations have to deliver on this stuff and actually support it so that the customer experience remains satisfactory over time. So meaning that this change hits all parts of the organization, which is really a theme of part of what we're going to talk about here today. Hence, people have to get more responsive. This, what we call shifting to the left, is really about becoming more agile, delivering things more incrementally, being able to respond to changes and customer needs and market needs more quickly, and be able to get that feedback and translate it into action more quickly is what needs to be done. And organizations need to be able to reorient themselves to be able to be more nimble and to be more responsive. In larger organizations, it's sometimes harder than others. What that's done is people try to get more agile, or they try to do things more specific to their domain expertise. It's given rise to a proliferation of software tools across the organization as people try to find the right tools for the work that they're doing, whether it be heavyweight projects, lightweight projects, is it waterfall projects, is it agile projects, how to report on all this stuff. But what it's done, and this is actually an extract of something that a client provided to us a while back. And if you look at the capabilities down the left-hand axis and you look at the organizations across the top, and the different tools they're using to do project and portfolio management in the organization, makes it a very unwieldy type of thing to get a handle on it across the entire organization, let alone get common visibility into everything that's going on. And organizations are increasingly embracing different methodologies. Agile is definitely growing as this need to be more nimble and responsive is driving people to more agile approaches. But waterfall is still widely used for different types of projects and may always be. There's agile variants, there's hybrid methodologies, which are a combination of agile and waterfall, or personalized cherry-picked versions that people are using to best fit what they're able to deliver or the type of work that they're doing. Now, this isn't all bad. The Gartner group tells us that organizations don't have to all be agile in the same way that using agile techniques like Scrum or DevOps is not only or even the best indicator of an organization's speed or flexibility. That most agile organizations are more likely to use several different project management approaches depending on the type of work or the type of people that are working on them. So the question is, ask yourself, where are you in the agile transformation spectrum? You're probably on it somewhere. On the right-hand side, we have project portfolio management in a traditional fashion, which is more waterfall, top-down governance control type of oriented. People striving to become more agile. Some may want to go all the way to the left here and become fully agile and do both from an agile execution and agile portfolio perspective. But to get there usually takes years or significant amounts of time, and at least some point they're going to be going through this adaptive piece that we're going to talk about today. adaptive portfolio management, which is a combination of methodologies, of tools, and approaches. And the analysts and our experience in dealing with customers is telling us that for the most part, most organizations are going to be in an adaptive state for the foreseeable future or permanently. That going full Agile isn't for all organizations, and that this is a discipline and an approach that people should master to be successful. Now, the Gartner group says the adaptive project management and reporting process flow, if you look at the top of demand intake, prioritization, sourcing and planning, project progress reporting, project reporting, doesn't look too different from the fundamental pieces of maybe what we had in a more waterfall approaches, but it might have to embody multiple execution tools, the needs that vary in different parts of the enterprise, diversified execution methods that we talked about. It might even have to support continuous delivery with a certain product or type of software. The key is we want to reduce overall project durations over what we used to do with the waterfall approaches, promote continuous customer responsiveness so that we can adapt those and feed those in so we're delivering the right things at the right time, and be able just to adapt better to changing customer needs and modify our execution approaches to bring time to value, bringing the things quicker that people want most. Now, to do that, we have to bring together and provide a common hub for information. And that really means if multiple tools are being used, down below we see things like Azure DevOps, JIRA, Microsoft Project, even OnePlan's planning tools. Those may feed in and they be using different methodologies, some iterative, some more waterfall, but they need to feed into an organization view of an entire portfolio that gives people the visibility that they want. You know, at the lower level, we're talking about the teams that are executing. At the upper level, we're looking at leadership who needs to understand what it is they've approved, how those things are tracking, how those investments are performing, and be able to have the information they need to be able to adjust and redirect as needed. Now, even if companies go fully Agile, and maybe like we're talking here about today, maybe they're using Azure DevOps in some places and JIRA in some places for their Agile approaches, or maybe even OnePlan's Agile tools. The idea here is that they still have to feed up into a common portfolio, and there might still be a disconnect. For example, teams in the Agile world are using things like burn-ups and burn-downs, velocity, cumulative flow to understand where they're at or where the status of things are. Leadership may still be thinking about things in traditional business and financial sense. And the idea is to be able to bring that to bear and paint that picture for leadership as needed with a good adaptive portfolio management solution. Now, take this one step further. You can take these adaptive approaches that go across all different disciplines within an organization, and you still need to align them with the corporate strategy. We got to be working on the right things that get us in the direction or help the organization achieve the objectives and the outcomes that they want to achieve. And the idea here is that, you know, strategic portfolio management is another aspect of this, and our focus on adaptive today is saying we want this to fit in and reach across the entire organization so that we meet the organization-wide needs. Now, this brings into the picture the role of the EPMO. The analysts like Gartner are saying that organizations are moving to EPMOs, or Enterprise Program Management Offices, instead of multiple departmental or business unit individual PMOs. They're doing this to help ensure strategy to execution alignment enterprise-wide. So all the things that are being executed across the organization are in concert with what the overall strategy is for the organization. And it's really focused solely on the achievement of enterprise level objectives, meaning across the entire organization to achieve the desired outcomes. Now, some predictions from Gartner in their strategic roadmap publication that they put out is that by 2023, 80% of organizations will have an EPMO focused on integrating digital projects and programs. By 2024, half of EPMOs will have the ability to rapidly sense and orchestrate changing conditions and become the central nervous system for the enterprise, meaning they'll be positioned in a place where they'll have the organization-wide view, not the parochial business unit or departmental view, and they will be liaising with senior leadership in their strategies as well as with the execution teams to make sure that they're working in concert. In 2025, they say that 50% of strategically focused EPMOs will be tasked with the unification of fractal ecosystems. So that means we showed you that diagram with the proliferation of tools. We showed you how that can, be a little bit siloing of information and of maybe mission. And the idea is that we can bring that together through the use of an EPMO. Now, why do we want to do this? It's because there's a continuous flux of threats and opportunities that are coming at a faster pace in organizations. We have to deal with them. And responding to those requires a significant amount of effort and cost. And that means projects and programs that we have to manage. It also requires effective orchestration and governance at scale across the entire enterprise to make this work in a way that's effective. And EPMOs are charged with the execution of large enterprise-wide initiatives and quick, effective portfolio prioritization, because we may have to reprioritize these things on a more frequent basis than we used to in the past. So project management trends that we see is that EPMOs are embracing the proliferation of multiple project and work modules and integrating those as needed. And that's what we're going to show you here today. The strategic part of that and strategic portfolio management technology for portfolio monitoring and decision making can be incorporated on top of the adaptive project management approaches to make sure that we're constantly working on the right things. Even the domain-specific PMOs for organizations that haven't done this, and we get the individual PMOs, they're also rejecting traditional project management methods and tools, and they're adopting adaptive PM or project management and reporting tools, as well as the EPMOs that we're talking here about today. So this is not just for the people who are embracing EPMOs at this point. The key is that when I showed you that proliferation of tools, it's really breeding costly and inefficient uses of time. It's requiring manual data crunching and rolling up of data in artificial ways that require a lot of manual labor. Manual report creation after that data is crunched. Data re-entry and transcribing data across multiple sources, which is prone to errors. And then doing things like chasing team members down for status and updates in different forms, whether it be email, whether it be different tools, whatever it might be. And then the packaging and distribution of reports to the different audiences, and even trying to track completeness and timeliness of submissions to make sure that stats are current and up to date. Those are all unproductive uses of time that we could be putting to more high value activities. So with that, we're going to show you today OnePlan, which really brings us together from an adaptive perspective of multiple execution tools feeding into a common portfolio. It provides capabilities at the portfolio level. It provides resource capacity planning across a common tool set across all these different disciplines and tools. It provides the ability to do financial planning and tracking. And on the execution side, OnePlan does have its own waterfall tools like you see here on the left, or more agile tools on the right-hand side. Also common status reporting that becomes a natural output of the process. But if you're not using OnePlan's tools, notice down below we can feed in with things like Microsoft Project, Planner. On the waterfall side, on the right side, our focus today is going to be things like JIRA and Azure DevOps to feed into those agile plans that we have. And then the ability to have team members come in and actually status the work in one place. So regardless of what tool it's coming from, a team member can go into OnePlan and status their waterfall projects, their agile projects from various tools in one place and have that feed back to that tool where it's being executed. So demand is another piece. To have a common intake and governance process is something OnePlan provides. Even though we may use different execution tools, we have a common place where intake can come in, where it can be vetted, where it can be investigated, where business cases can be developed. And then upon approval of those, or pre-approval, we can analyze those things in reporting and visuals and analytics to understand what the best things we should be doing or what things we should be selecting next. And this integration happens not through custom code development and maintenance. It's about productized connector platform that OnePlan provides in the cloud. And if you see in the upper left for software development, that's really where the Agile tools are. And Azure DevOps and JIRA are the two most prominent ones that we do on a regular and daily basis. So the use cases you're going to see here today may be a traditional portfolio with, say, Microsoft Project or other waterfall planning tools coalescing with Azure DevOps to roll that data into a common portfolio, even though different methodologies and different tools are being used. And that same use case applies if you're using JIRA for your Agile project management. And even if you're using multiple Agile tools like Azure DevOps and JIRA in the same organization, the portfolio level where leadership sits may be Agile in their thought process. They may be more waterfall or more traditional in their thought process, but feeding those into those either way is something that OnePlan can address for you. So some of the use cases that you'd have with these out-of-the-box connectors might be In Azure DevOps and JIRA, you may have backlogs for your different projects that, a project may be represented, say, by an epic, and there may be features, user stories, tasks, or bugs associated with those. But where they aren't strong is at that portfolio level set of capabilities. And through these connectors, you can do things like establish portfolio level information in OnePlan, where you have portfolios and programs that maybe tie off to the epics that you're managing in the Agile tools. And then through the connectors, you can then potentially kick off projects that have been approved and establish those epics and that tie off between the portfolio and the execution tool. And then as the detailed plans are being flushed out within the Agile tool, the information can be coming back, the features, user stories, tasks, bugs, etc., the related information back into OnePlan, rolling up into a portfolio that you can manage holistically. So OnePlan is built for the Microsoft Cloud. It can be used just in your favorite browser, but it's also designed in the Microsoft ecosystem to be consumed from within other Microsoft environments, whether it be within OnePlan apps, you can consume Power Apps, you can consume it. Through Teams, it's an authorized Microsoft Teams app, and you can access OnePlan within Teams. Right within Azure DevOps, you can access the OnePlan capabilities. The same holds true for things like Dynamics and for SharePoint. The key is you have a choice to stay working in the tools that you work in every day if that makes you more productive. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Paul Estabrooks, who will give you a demonstration of these concepts in action.
I'm going to start today's demo in I'm in one of our OnePlan demo environments, and there's lots of data in here. And I'm going to kind of briefly, if you'll bear with me, go back in time, maybe in a way. 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, we would have viewed a PPM environment as a list of projects. And that's what's going to jump up here on the screen. So we would have looked at a list of projects, and that would have been our world. And they would have all been managed through potentially one scheduling tool and so forth. And we would have organized ourselves around that. And what we find in more and more conversations that we have with customers is there's this other thing that people want to connect to. There's that other side of the house, if you will, that other world where stuff's being managed in Azure DevOps or JIRA. And so suddenly the world gets a lot larger. The total portfolio, as Jim sort of talked through in some of those slides, was much bigger than just what we could manage and call a project. And so if I flip back from this view I created just to sort of show that sort of trip down memory lane, and I jump to our full portfolio and I open this up to look at it, you'll see that mixture of epics and projects, a connection to a whole host of different tools as we choose to execute those projects. This is the reality that most of our clients deal with today. Gartner calls it adaptive portfolio management. That ability to adapt to the changing work environment, to be hybrid in how we execute, to give people power of choice to how they choose to execute, what methodology they want or need to follow, and yet bring it all together and participate effectively in a portfolio. So I wanted to sort of show that sort of before we used to have sort of this very narrow view of what PPM was. It was project and portfolio management. But there was this other thing where a growing amount of work was getting done, and we see organizations shifting left to that sort of age of transformation, digital transformation, and then we needed to incorporate other methodologies and other audiences. And that's what OnePlan's bringing here, and you could see this on this opening screen. What I want to highlight as we go through this is whether I'm managing this, as an epic, and I'm going to come back to this one a couple of times, but if I go to this one, you'll see it's following, an LPM, a lean portfolio management type methodology, and we're managing this as an epic. It's connected to JIRA, and we're going to show that a little bit more later. Or I'm managing a more conventional project using a more conventional methodology. I can still participate effectively in the portfolio. Both of these projects can provide meaningful information, as Jim talked about a minute ago, around what is the resourcing requirements. This project has lots of resources. We've got lots of commitments. We've got some over allocations we probably should be working through as we try and figure out how to execute on this project. So we're able to articulate right here how this project is going to get done, what are the resourcing we would need, in the context of everything that's being done in the organization, regardless of methodology. Likewise, I can track the budget here. I can bring data across. I can import my resource costs. I can come up with other costs. I can do a forecast, or I can do the budget itself. I can compare those. I can build this out how I need to execute and properly understand when we're going to spend money, how much we're supposed to spend, are we on track, all of the rest of it, independent of how I might be choosing to execute on the project itself. This particular project that I'm using as my opening example here is hybrid in its own nature. It's adaptive inside of adaptive, if you will. If I jump to list here really quickly in our work plan, there's the backlog, but I want to jump up a section just quickly. Here's a full schedule. This particular schedule is actually coming from Microsoft Project. But in part of this project, which is the focus of today, is there's also a backlog. Part of this project is being done in Azure DevOps. And what I wanted to highlight here, Jim talked about this, he showed those arrows just a minute ago, and I'm going to kind of play that out here in this particular example for you, is we've drawn into OnePlan the data being managed over in Azure DevOps, and there it all is. I can connect to that DevOps environment just by clicking on that icon up at the top. And now I am connecting at the epic level. So I can see everything that's going on. So this might have started in OnePlan, as Jim showed with those arrows, and moved over here, and it's been created. And now we've gone and we've itemized the work we're going to do, and I'm going to show that in just a second. But you can see here I've got sort of that core level information. What I also have in here at the epic level is sort of a look at OnePlan from the other side. I could do anything that we are doing over in OnePlan here. There's that same resource plan that's going to pop up on screen. There it is. Those same details, that same governance structure, everything. So I could manage my project from inside Azure DevOps, yet still be participating in OnePlan at the epic level. If I jump back here, okay, I've done that, so I don't need to have that open. I can also drill in at the feature level. I click on that little icon, and I'm back into Azure DevOps. I'm in another window, but now I'm at the feature level, and I could prioritize this. I could do the kinds of things that you would typically do in Azure DevOps as you're working on these items and scheduling them and organizing them, assigning them to sprints, all of that, and then send that data back to OnePlan so that we can see it as part of our overall portfolio and our planning and our status reporting and so forth. If I go back to OnePlan one more time, and I go down to that user story level and click on the icon there, you'll notice another window opened. I'm now actually in that particular work item. And in here, we've created the ability for someone to give us progress reports and data that could flow back to a timesheet or something else in terms of work effort, so that we could do the work logging from here and feed that back to OnePlan at this particular level. So at the epic level, we've connected it so that we can plan the epic, do all the things we need to do and send that data back, but also actually manage the project from a OnePlan perspective right inside DevOps. At the feature level, we can come in as well and update data and do and so forth and connect that back. And then at this level, at the work item level, we can actually go in and do all the things we need to do here, in addition to charging time, if you will, against this task, so that we can properly status the task, properly track effort, resource commitments, and so forth as we may need to. We've had clients ask for this capability, and that's why we put it in. I'll close on Azure DevOps. Jim mentioned in one of his final slides that we can connect, we can embed OnePlan inside Azure DevOps. So I've shown you a project or an epic, in that container. But here is all of OnePlan. Everything you might want to do. You want to do portfolio prioritization, you want to look at timesheets and so forth, do resource planning. All of it can be surfaced and fed to you here, embedded inside Azure DevOps, or held independent, as I have shown from where I'm demoing today. So both angles, you're looking at the exact same data in either environment as we go through this. To close on that, I could then come in and I can do a status report on how this particular project is progressing. Again, part of this is being done in DevOps, but we're pulling that data in so we can see it. It's helping drive the schedule for those components, sort of how they sort of knit back into the overall objective and schedule. We understand the budget, we understand the effort that's going into it. We can create a status report here and look at past status reports. even though we are managing this over in Azure DevOps for the most part. Now, if I come back to the portfolio and I go to that JIRA training project again, this particular project, again, it has its own information, but it has a resource plan. It's not as detailed as the other one because we're still planning it out, but we've got some resources in here that are proposed. So we are participating in providing that crucial information to the portfolio manager around what resources we will need and roughly when. So, we need a developer that's full-time for those particular months. We need a business analyst and a project manager. We might need some other roles as we go forward, and we're going to sort of sketch that out so that people can make resourcing decisions. They're not in a silo. They're not off in another system. They're not those people down the hall that do things differently than we do. They are participating in the portfolio along with everything else. We have a complete picture of all that we're trying to do. And if I look at finances, I have a budget. I've pulled in that resourcing data and made sure that I understand its impact on the budget. I've captured some other costs that we know we need to do, and we could continue to build this out as we work through approving this project and executing on it, and then track those costs. So again, we're tracking them here, but we're going to execute in JIRA. And so if I do that, I'll go to my list view again here in the work plan. This particular project has a backlog. There it is. And if I click on this, it's going to open up JIRA. I actually have it already open, so let me not do that and just make a mess of things here. But there we are. I'm in one of the items, one of the issues, but I've logged into this particular project in JIRA. And I can bring all that same data over. So in this demo environment, we are live connected to JIRA. We're live connected to Azure DevOps. We're also connected to Project Pro, Planner, and Project for the Web. But we are pulling this data in so that people can provide that crucial information around resources, around status reports, and so forth, so that we have that complete picture. And then as a portfolio manager, that's great. My projects are being executed. I'm getting the information that I need. Everyone's participating in that. And if I come and look at a couple of other views that we've created, and I fire up this project trend view, you could see here all of those projects that are in flight, whether they're epics or projects or some combination of both, as they provide that status report at my fingertips is an initial look at projects that are overall health, state trend, how are they trending, budgets, and so forth. I have immediate quick information that I need to be able to manage the portfolio. I've abstracted this data and from the methodologies being used to deliver and the teams and how they're organized to truly understand where we are on budget, where we are on overall health, and so forth. I can go a little bit further with that. If I jump into that portfolio, we saw that dashboard a few minutes ago, but if I jump over to my portfolio summary, and I want to go and look at one of the portfolios that I'm responsible for, and I'm going to go look at my details. So now, because I've engaged all those audiences, because I've incorporated that Agile world into my what was PPM to make it adaptive, I have this complete picture. I understand my overview of where we are. I understand my status of that portfolio that I'm responsible for and how each of those projects are proceeding. I understand the financials. Oops, didn't click on it. There we go. Of how we are progressing. Are we spending the way we wanted to or the way we expected? I have a complete picture of the risks, the issues, the other things that might be going on, what's upcoming, regardless of tool set. We've engaged everyone in providing that crucial information. We need to know when you need resources and what you need, whether you describe them as teams or whether you describe them as individuals or roles. We need to know what budget that we're approving and are you executing against it. And we need to know, regular cadence status reporting independent of the methodology to understand where you are. Is there red flags we need to address, so that we can look at this as a portfolio and we can make critical business decisions around which projects we're going to execute, which ones we might pause to bring something else in because it's crucial, because there's been a shift in the organization. That adaptiveness, that agility is what we need, and we need to have an engagement with all audiences and have them providing that crucial information, yet give them the ability to execute with the methodology that they need or want to use and the tooling that they need to use appropriately. And with that, Jim, I think I'll bring that demo to a close.
Terrific. Well, let's summarize what we've heard here today and talk about some potential next steps you can take. This whole concept of OnePlan for adaptive PPM Why we would do that is to ensure that organizations are working on the right things aligned to the strategies and priorities of the organization, to provide common visibility so that we can rapidly respond to changing conditions by having our finger on the pulse of everything that's going on, all types of projects. Also to keep users working in their preferred tools and solutions that are appropriate for their role, maturity, and the type of work that they're doing. It also supports a variety of execution methodologies and tools. Paul was focused a little bit on the Agile side of it today, but using waterfall type projects with OnePlan's tools itself, or with things like Microsoft Project, et cetera, are in the mix of this adaptive framework. And it improves adoption by minimizing duplication of effort and unnecessary complexity, meaning people can use the tools they have, feed it automatically into the portfolio without doing duplicate entry to serve the reporting needs or to report up the chain up to leadership. Also, it's a modern user experience. It drives better participation and compliance because people use it in the context of modern types of tools. And it integrates all work and resources into a common hub. It really becomes the focal point of things. And teams can continue to be agile, but leadership still gets the visibility and the metrics that they require. And that can vary from organization to organization. Overall, it provides better collaboration, as Paul showed, with the different tools, common forums for things like financials and resource planning, and decision support across all areas of the business. Now, we do this because our passion is in project and portfolio management. As a Microsoft Gold certified partner across multiple disciplines, our focus really is project and portfolio management. And we were fortunate enough to be named their Global Partner of the Year in PPM last year. And we continue to be recognized as a leader over multiple years. We get recognized for the same from folks like the Gartner Group, Infotech Research Group, Scaled Agile Partner for people that want the Scaled Agile concept implemented within their organization. So the idea here is that this is what we do. We're not a general systems integrator that does this as part of what we do as a business. And we can help you to whatever degree you'd like to be helped. You know, the technology, yes, we can stand it up for you, but we can help you with the people and process side of things with our advisory consulting and support you through the entire process. So you just let us know how you'd like us to help. And we do these types of webinars constantly, weekly, generally. And we have the next two coming up on June 16th and June 23rd. On the 16th, we've got strategic portfolio management for new product development. And then on the 23rd, how to manage a product roadmap in OnePlan. We'll talk about the road mapping features we have in that tool and how that would apply to organizations. Now, you can try out OnePlan with a free trial. If you go to microsoftsappsource.com, we have a variety of different templates. And if you want to try the adaptive portfolio management discipline, we have that in here today. There's also a strategic portfolio management template in there as well. So if you want to go up there and try it, reach out to us. We'll probably reach out to you if you do the trial. But the idea is that we want to chaperone you and help you and get the best experience out of that trial that you possibly can. Also, if you're just curious as what it would take to get from the tools and approaches you're using today into a solution like OnePlan, we can offer you a free roadmap workshop to get a cursory view of your current use of solutions and assess your current requirements and desired future state and what it would take and what it might cost to get you into a solution like this. Also, if you're not that far yet and the generalized demo that we gave you today wasn't, say, deep or hit the topics of your requirements deep enough, we're happy to schedule a personalized one-on-one demo with you. You can reach out to us at this general contact@oneplan.ai. You could research more about our stuff at www.oneplan.ai. And you could also reach out to Paul or myself individually if you care to have a conversation. Ultimately, we would love to engage with you. You know, our motto is that we're invested in success. That means we're invested in your success as a customer. And the idea is to bring things together, make it easier for people and more effective to do project and portfolio management. We do that by bringing things together into one common hub, one interface, one experience, all provided to you from OnePlan. So with that, Paul and I would like to thank you for spending time out of your valuable day to join us today. And we definitely would like to engage with you. Reach out and have a great day.